Cinderella's tears fell silently onto the ash-stained floor, though she made no sound. The house was asleep, or at least pretending to be. She knew if her stepmother or stepsisters caught her crying, they would mock her until her heart broke even further. The night was heavy, pressing against the windows, and the fireplace had long gone cold. Her father's portrait stared down at her from above the mantel, his eyes painted bright and kind. That portrait was all she had left of him. He had died suddenly, leaving her in the care of a woman who knew how to smile sweetly in public but carried venom in her veins. The world believed Cinderella lived comfortably as the daughter of a wealthy household. The truth was crueler. She was the servant of her own home, wrapped not in silk but in sorrow, her fingers blistered and her spirit dimming. But the deepest pain was not the work or even the cruelty. It was the silence of being unseen. She could scrub floors, polish silver, and still, no one spoke her name with warmth. To the world, she did not exist. And sometimes, in her darkest hours, she wondered if perhaps she truly didn't. It was in this quiet despair that our story begins. The main conflict, a wish and a warning. Word spread quickly, the palace would hold a grand ball open to all maidens, for the prince was seeking a bride. The kingdom buzzed with excitement. To most girls, it was a chance for love, or at least fortune. But to Cinderella, it was something else entirely, a chance to be seen. Her stepsisters squealed and argued over fabrics and ribbons, while her stepmother calculated how best to push them forward into the prince's gaze. Cinderella stood silently in the corner, folding their gowns, pressing their sleeves, stitching their hems. "You?" her stepmother had laughed when Cinderella, trembling, dared to whisper that she wished to attend too. "You? The prince would sooner marry a kitchen broom than a girl covered in ash. Do not embarrass yourself. Or me." And then, a voice came. Soft. Steady. A voice that seemed to emerge from both within and without. "Be careful what you ask for, child. To be seen is not always to be loved." A woman stood before her, cloaked in silver light, her eyes sharp as the moon. She did not look gentle, as fairy godmothers often do in stories. She looked weary, knowing. "I can grant your wish," the woman said. "But every gift carries its price. You will have beauty that blinds, a gown woven of starlight, and shoes of glass that will not break. You will be the brightest flame in the palace, and the prince will see nothing else. But remember, flames burn, and when they fade, all that remains is ash." Cinderella hesitated. Something in the woman's voice sounded like warning, almost pity. Yet she thought of her stepmother's laughter, her sister's scorn, her father's portrait watching silently from the wall. She wanted to live, if only for a single night. "I accept," she said, though her voice shook. The woman lifted her hand, and the world shifted. Ash turned to silver, rags to brilliance, sorrow to beauty. When Cinderella looked down, she did not recognize herself. And perhaps, in truth, she no longer was herself. The ball, beauty and burden. The palace glittered with light, music pouring from golden halls. Laughter and song filled the air, yet when Cinderella stepped inside, silence followed. Every gaze turned toward her. She was not a girl, she was a vision. Jewels could not compete, nor silks, nor painted faces. The prince himself froze as if struck. He approached her as though in a dream, and she smiled, though her heart thudded painfully in her chest. For the first time, she was seen. Not as a servant, not as an ash girl, but as someone worthy. Yet with every dance, every admiring glance, unease crept into her heart. They looked at her, yes, but they did not see her. They saw the gown, the beauty, the impossible glow that did not belong to her alone. Even the prince, whose hand clasped hers so tightly, spoke only of her loveliness, never of her voice, her thoughts, her fears. As the night deepened, she felt the weight of the fairy's warning. To be seen was not always to be loved. Still, when midnight neared and the magic trembled on the edge of breaking, she panicked. Not because she would lose the gown, but because she feared that when the beauty fell away, she would vanish too. She fled the palace, glass slippers striking sparks on the stone steps. In her haste, one shoe slipped free. The prince shouted behind her, calling for guards, but she did not stop. She ran until the silver dissolved into rags, until the starlight bled into ash. Breathless, trembling, she collapsed beneath the old oak, the fairy's words ringing in her ears. The twist, what the prince truly wanted. Days passed. The kingdom roared with talk of the mysterious maiden, and the prince declared he would marry no one but her. He carried the glass slipper through villages and towns, determined to find the foot it fit. Cinderella's stepmother heard the news and her greed sharpened. She locked Cinderella away, determined that one of her own daughters would claim the prize. Yet no matter how they squeezed or struggled, the shoe would not fit. At last, when the prince demanded every maiden be tried, he found his way to Cinderella's room. She emerged slowly, her heart pounding. The slipper slid onto her foot as if it belonged there. The stepmother shrieked, the sisters wailed, but the prince only smiled. "It is you," he said, as if she were the answer to a question he had always known. But Cinderella's stomach turned. Did he know her? Or did he know only the glow of borrowed magic? That night, when he came to her in secret, she asked him. "Why do you seek me? You don't even know my name." "Because you are perfection," he said without hesitation. "Because when you walked into that hall, I saw a vision beyond this earth. I will make you my queen, and together we will dazzle the world." Cinderella's blood ran cold. She understood then, he did not love her. He loved the mask the fairy had painted on her. He loved the flame, not the girl. And just as the fairy had warned, flames do not last. The choice, ash or fire. On the eve of her wedding, Cinderella returned to the oak tree. The fairy was waiting, her eyes sad. "Now you see," she said. "He does not want you. He wants the dream. You asked to be seen, but he sees only what I made you." Cinderella trembled. "Then what am I to do? If I stay, I will live as a lie. If I leave, I am nothing." The fairy touched her cheek. "You are not nothing. You are the girl who kept kindness in her heart when the world was cruel. You are the girl who survived sorrow and still dreamed. That is who you are, with or without a crown." Cinderella wept. For the first time, she realized the truth, she did not need to be seen by everyone. She only needed to see herself. When the wedding morning came, the palace was filled with flowers and finery. But as the prince waited at the altar, the crowd gasping in awe, he found the bride's place empty. Cinderella had vanished, leaving behind only the second glass slipper, shattered into dust. Conclusion, the reflection. No one knew where she went. Some said she wandered into the forest, others that she sailed across the sea. Some whispered she became a healer in a distant village, her hands soft with kindness rather than chains of gold. But the truth? The truth was hers alone. What mattered was this, she chose herself. She chose to live not as a flame that burned for others' eyes but as a soul that could breathe freely in her own skin. And so the tale of Cinderella does not end with a crown or a prince's kiss. It ends with a question left lingering in the hearts of those who hear it. Is it better to be adored for a mask, or to walk unseen yet true? The answer, perhaps, lies in the ashes.